Does consciousness influence, generate, or create what we call matter? So let's try a few experiments. Lift your arm up. How did you do that? It started with a thought, which is a modified form of consciousness. And this is definitely a biological activity that we would call matter. So as soon as you had the thought to lift your arm up, or you followed my instruction, you activated your motor cortex, you activated neurochemicals that then generated an electrical response so that you could lift your arm up. Same thing when you speak. In fact, there's no possible biological activity without what we call consciousness or mind, which is a modified form of consciousness affecting matter. Your moods, your stress, your engagement with society generates neurochemicals in your brain. So if you're stressed, you generate cortisol from your adrenal gland, adrenaline. All of that is material stuff according to current science. So, and if you're happy, if you're feeling empowered, then you generate things like dopamine and oxytocin and opiates and many other peptides in the brain, which are molecules. They're actually material stuff according to science. And they influence everything from the immune system to homeostasis, etc. So your biology is actually governed by your conscious mind and also your subconscious mind. And that is through your nervous system, your brain and your autonomic nervous system. So there's no question that mind, which is a modified form of consciousness, affects biology. They're the same thing. You can't have a molecule without something happening which is not molecular. It's in consciousness in the form of sensations, perceptions, images, feelings, thoughts, etc. So as far as animate biological organisms are concerned, mind and body are a unified experience. But then what about the external world? Do we affect this external world through our thoughts? So I know in a previous post, I mentioned the quantum Zeno effect, which is a phenomenon in quantum mechanics where the repeated measurement of a quantum system can affect its evolution. The more often the system is measured, the more likely it is to remain in its original state. In fact, continuous measurement will stop radioactive decay. So some scientists have proposed that the quantum Zeno effect could be used to explain how consciousness influences the behavior of matter, even out there, so-called. They have suggested that our consciousness can be used to control the behavior of quantum particles, such as the electrons in our brains. But we're also talking about electrons out there as measured through experiments. So the quantum Zeno effect definitely suggests the involvement of consciousness in influencing the behavior of matter, not only in the brain at a very fundamental level of electrons and quarks and leptons and bosons, but also out there, so-called out there. So more research, of course, is going on to understand the nature of what we call consciousness to the physical world. So let me actually explain this at a deeper level right now, that consciousness does not actually influence or generate matter. This is something that most scientists are not talking about, because, and this is where I get into trouble with current scientific thinking, and I get into trouble because what I'm proposing, like other scientists, and by the way, if you think some of my stuff is too abstract, I do suggest you look up videos by Rupert Spira, who's very elegant and eloquent in his explanation of non-duality, its relationship to love and peace and joy and happiness. Rupert Spira. He's younger than me, but he's brilliant. Okay, so furthermore, that thought came to me because he would agree, and others would agree, small number of people, Don Hoffman, that actually there is no such thing as matter. Matter is a name we've given to a cognitive and perceptual activity in consciousness. And that's all there is to matter. It's a human construct. And that means everything from quarks to leptons to bosons to electrons to gluons to galaxies to stars. All of that is made of consciousness. All of that is just consciousness, assuming an appearance. So before you can describe an electron or a boson or lepton, there has to be some cognitive or perceptual experience, albeit through sophisticated instruments and extensions of our senses. But you cannot describe or give a name to a particle before it's a cognitive and perceptual experience in consciousness. What we call electrons out there are not out there. Okay, they're in consciousness as space-time events. Nothing is out there or in here, which means there's no one inside here nor outside there. There's a field of consciousness, which is in a sense space-like. And I mentioned in the Vedanta, there are three kinds of spaces. There's Bhutakash, the physical space that you experience perceptually here around you. There's Chitakash, mental space, with thoughts and feelings and emotions and memories and imagination. And there is Mahadakash, which encompasses both as complementary activities of its own self. Pure consciousness modifying itself as species-specific mental and so-called physical activity. But in the end, it's only consciousness appearing as the mind, appearing as the body, appearing as the world, and there's no inside or outside. It's non-local. And to reinforce certain definitions, consciousness, and I'll use Rupert Spira's definition first. Consciousness is that in which all experience occurs, is all experiences known, and out of which all experience is made. That credit should go to Rupert for describing this very accurately. But you could simplify it. You could say consciousness, the fundamental ground of existence in which all experience occurs, period, and is known. It's the source of all experience. And consciousness does not have a location. It is not in space-time. Then there's another definition we need to clarify, and it's mind. People think mind is the same thing as brain, which is a good compromise. The mind is and the brain are complementary activities in consciousness. The brain is what the mind looks like, the conditioned mind looks like as an object. But the best, or closest to the best definition of mind comes from Dan Siegel, who said the mind is an embodied and relational process that regulates the flow of energy and information amongst living beings. So just like consciousness has no location, mind has no location. What about the physical body? Does it have a location? It appears to, But even that is an artifact. The body is an ongoing perceptual cognitive activity in consciousness and constantly transforming. And actually, everything that we call form is phenomenon, and everything we call phenomenon is the generation of modified forms of awareness as sensations, perceptions, images, feelings, thoughts. So, where is the body located? It doesn't have a location either. The universe, which goes along with the body as an entangled experience, doesn't have a location either in space or time. Through acts of attention and intention, we actually localize our experience to an object, to a body. But it's actually editing everything that's happening and localizing, just like you take, a beam of light and you then narrow it, and the narrow beam of light focuses on what appears to be a local experience, but that light is everywhere. Okay. And in this case, we're talking about the light of awareness, which is everywhere, but localizes upon attention and intention. Bottom line, neither your consciousness, nor your mind, nor your body, nor does the universe have a location in space or time. So think about this and let me know your thoughts. I'd love to hear your feedback. Bottom line, again, you as consciousness, as mind, as body, and the universe have no location in space-time. And that's a good thing to know, because no location in space-time means no birth, no death, just timeless being. Appearing as all this, as this, what's happening here, everywhere else, all this is just appearance. Okay, modified appearance, changing appearance, ungraspable appearance. Every perception is fleeting, every thought is fleeting, every idea is fleeting, every notion is fleeting. And what actually fools us or gives us this illusion of space-time and matter is confusing the narrow beam of attention and intention with the source of that narrow beam, which is a consciousness which is fundamental, irreducible, without cause, spaceless, timeless, dimensionless, incomprehensible, and the mystery of all existence is you. Aham Brahmasmi. Let me know what you think.